Your tests from Unit 2 Part 1 are on Power School if you want to see those grades. I will pass them back when I'm here next class. You've been handed guided notes, and those notes follow along with the Smartboard slides that we're going to walk through. So please have those with you and fill them out as we go. When we finish the lesson, you can complete the 3-2 study guide worksheets and the practice worksheet that are in your packet. And there's also a 3-2 word problem practice worksheet as well. When I come back, we will go over the answers and see how well it went. Your learning targets for today are: I can identify the relationship between two planes or two lines, and I can name angles formed by a transversal. So first we have that word transversal, which is probably new to most of us. In this unit, we're going to talk a lot about parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel lines, as you guys know, are lines that never intersect each other. And lines are something that goes on infinitely, so even though a picture may not show them intersecting, they could still intersect if they continue on. Perpendicular lines definitely intersect, and they intersect at 4 right angles. Well, a transversal is a new type of line, and a transversal is a line that cuts through two others. So if you look at this picture, line L would be our transversal because it's cutting through M and N. Now, would we say that M and N are parallel lines? No, because those lines, if they were extended, would definitely intersect each other. So parallel lines are lines that never intersect. Using what we know about transversals and different lines, there's a whole different set of angles that get created. First we're going to look at them with just 2 regular lines in a transversal, and a little bit later we'll look at the difference between having lines that aren't parallel and lines that are parallel. So you have the same picture in your notes, and let's talk about what all these different angle pairs mean. The first word we see here is exterior. Well, exterior usually means on the outside. So if I think about the 2 lines that I have, A and B, well, the inside of those lines would be anything in there, and the outside would be anything out there, either above or below those lines. So that would be my exteriors, and this would be my interiors. Well, if you're going to list those type of angles, our exterior angles would be angle 7, angle 8, and we also have angle 1 and angle 2. So all 4 of those would be exterior angles. In that same respect, the angles that are on the inside of those 2 lines would be angle 3, angle 4, angle 5, and angle 6. So exterior and interior is on the inside of 2 lines, and exterior would be either above or below those lines. Now we're going to get into some more specifics. The next thing we have is alternate exterior. Well, when we think of the word alternate, I think of opposite or alternating, okay? So alternate, we have to go across our transversal, and if you look at this picture here, C would be our transversal. So we want to go across that and be on the outside of those 2 lines, A and B. So for example, if I pick angle 1, we want to find out which angle is alternate exterior. We have to jump across our transversal and on the outside. So angle 8 would be that pair. So from now on, we're going to group them into pairs. Angle 1 and angle 8 are alternate exterior. We also have another pair of alternate exteriors. Instead of 1, if I use angle 2, well, across the transversal and below the line would be angle 7. Angle 2 and angle 7 are also alternate exteriors. We can also talk about alternate interior angles. So instead of them being on the outside of those lines, they will be on the inside. So if I choose angle 3, we again want to go across our transversal, but still be on the inside. So 6 would be alternate interior to 3. And we have 4 and 5 as well are alternate interior, across and on the inside. Right now we're just identifying the relationship. A little bit later that relationship will mean something when those angles are centered around parallel lines. So the next set that we have are consecutive interior. Consecutive means one right after the other, and interior, they must again be on the inside of those parallel lines. So if I choose angle 3, we want to stay on the same side of the transversal this time, but on the inside. So 3 and 5. We would also have 4 and 6. Those two sets would be alternate or consecutive interior. Excuse me. Lastly, we have corresponding angles. And corresponding, that means that they're going together. They have a relationship. And if you look in the set of angles that are created, we have 4 different angles. Well, we've also created 4 angles down at the bottom. So if we can match up where the certain angles are, we can find the angle that corresponds with that. Let's say I'm talking about angle 1. Well, angle 1 is in the top left corner of that angle pair. So if I look down below, the other angle that's in the top left corner would be angle 5. They're in the same place. Next, we have angle 2 and angle 6. Both are in the top right. Third, we have 3 and 7. And finally, we have 4 and 8. So that's what your homework was on, was identifying all those special angle pairs. I hope if there was any confusion that we cleared that up. The other vocabulary word that we should be talking about here is the word skew. So we talked about lines being parallel. They never intersect. We can also have parallel planes. If you think about this classroom, you have planes that are parallel. Sorry, I thought I had a slide about that. We have planes that are parallel, like the floor and the ceiling, or the left wall and the right wall. Those would be parallel planes, parallel flat surfaces. If you look at this first picture I have, we have plane A and plane B. Since one is the top of a box and one is the bottom, those would be considered parallel planes. Okay. Now, skew is when lines are not intersecting and they're not coplanar. So they're not going to be parallel, they're not going to intersect. We want them in 2 different planes, and we want them to never, ever, ever meet each other. So let's say we look at the bottom of this box here. Well, that's running along the very bottom. The line that comes from the top of the box, that is never going to run into the line on the bottom because they're so far apart. They're in two different planes. If we look towards the bottom, let's say we want to find lines that are skew to YR. When I find lines that are skew, what I first go around and do is cross off all of the lines that would be parallel. So to YR, ZS would be parallel, WP would be parallel, and XQ would be parallel. We also want to cross off any lines that intersect YR. Excuse me. SR is intersecting, ZY is intersecting, QR is intersecting, and XY is intersecting. So once you've crossed off all the intersecting lines and all the parallel lines, what you're left with are lines that are skew. So PQ would be an example of a skew line. WX would be skew to RY. Not SR, sorry. PS would be skew, and WZ would be skew. All the other lines are either parallel or intersecting. As you can see with the street signs, last example, those lines are skew because they're on different planes. So that takes care of 3.1. If you have any questions about the homework that was due today, we can certainly go over that when I get back. But please make sure your 3.1 worksheets are complete.